Hello and welcome to the next episode of The Initiated Man. I'm sitting here with Patrick Harrington of the Harrington Method, and Patrick is a father, a husband, a yogi, personal coach, and a local guide, and someone who I consider to be a dear brother and a mentor and an elder. And I'm so honored to have you here with me today as my second podcast guest.
Yes. Thank you. So happy to be here, Taylor.
Yeah.
Stoked for our conversation.
Cool. So would you like to do a honey breath with me?
Would I? I've been looking forward to this.
Okay, let's do it. Love that.
Thank you. That was my first honey breath.
That was my
first,
third.
not the last.
Not the last.
Not the last. Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
What a different feeling that was. I can't really explain it, but it was like, I don't know, it just felt like this whole energetic something like up and down my trunk. Amazing.
Yeah. I think like if I can dive into this,
since
you're feeling it, it's like, to me, there is like nothing more special than like platonic masculine love. Like there's so much depth of love that's available between two men or two women that I think is I personally am on a journey of like exploring the depths of love that I can experience with just brothers and men, and like we hold this romantic love up, but like I think there's just as much possible between brothers. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I as you're talking, I think about just from a standpoint of the stress that I feel in my body between the two. Love is love. I don't know. Is there a difference? It's kind of like I'm now just being made aware of this difference, and how the love that I feel with my brothers, with certain friends from many years, or new friends, or just different situations, versus the love that I feel with my wife, that I used to feel when I would go out seeking love with the opposite sex. It's a vibration that kind of is like a needing to live up to a certain standard, live up to a certain set of ways of being. And with my brothers, for the most part, there's a relaxation of that, and an acceptance. Same thing when I've had platonic relationships with women, although I don't have many platonic relationships with women. I have not been, that's not been something that has been in my life very much.
Yeah.
Mostly I have been a serial monogamist throughout my life. And that's felt right. But I appreciate the prompt there. Yeah. It's amazing.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there's less pressure.
Yeah.
Between platonic love.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just, you can just be who you are.
Yeah.
Like not, I need to be in my masculine, or checking off these certain boxes so that I can be loved and accepted. It's just like pure, like, I got you, you got me, you do you, I'll do me, and like we'll just flow together.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know that it's always been that way for me.
Yeah.
I think that there was times in my life when I just wanted to be loved,
Yeah.
and I was seeking for being chosen, being
By
loved.
women.
Yeah, no, by men, by women, right? Like,
Mhm.
please like me. Like feeling like I'm on the outside of something. Like, particularly, I'm thinking in like junior high or high school, or to some extent later. But frankly, after I started using psychedelics in my sophomore year in college, that really shifted that orientation to where I glimpsed something of being, all accepting love that I felt, particularly through psilocybin, but also through LSD and mescaline. This side of the pharmacology, and then I just noticed, I was aware of that there was a part of me sometimes that felt secure with other men, and there was a part of me that felt actually more secure with my girlfriend at the time, who seemed to accept me and want me in a way that I didn't necessarily have to perform. I don't know. So it's kind of interesting. Like, I think mindset and where someone is at in their journey can have a different thing.
For sure. 100%.
But even the context that you're bringing up, Taylor, around, are we going to be loving as men? Or are we going to play on a sports team? Are we going to play in competition with each other? And the love that is felt in those different arenas, I think, is contextual. Yeah.
So, do you think that so we're talking about where you're at now, and you're feeling like there's a little bit more of an ease in the, platonic love. Do you think that's possible to bring, because I know you're big on conscious relating, and you're in love with your wife and you guys do a lot of work together. Do you think that kind of love and relating is possible in romantic relationships, or do you think that that's just part of romantic relationships and we're just here to reveal our shadows, and that's the deep work? Or is it possible to have this kind of like really relaxed, full acceptance, full ease relationship?
It's a great question. I have always felt, and less so in my current relationship with my wife than ever in the past, a power dynamic at play that I would feel in certain masculine relationships as well, that when I was trying to get something, and I was kind of thinking about it this morning, as a matter of fact. Like, there's a men's group that I'm also a part of that I've just been watching. It's a should be a part of. I want to be a part of it, but I notice that whenever it comes up, I just feel stressed about really not having room for it. And my authentic, relaxed self is saying that today I'm going to respectfully bow out of the circle. And I'm watching the ramifications of, like, what will I lose? Will I not be invited to play in other arenas with these gentlemen? Will I hurt somebody? And I just watch how the degree to which I move from obligation within my relationship with my wife, for example, within my relationship with you, within my relationship with one of my buddies from high school. There's all this it seems to be for me, and always this, somewhere I'm moving from a more or less obligation based on the relationship. And so I think that as Cameron and I grow, what we find is that intimacy is a place where intimacy, meaning where we're sharing physical, intimate love. In our case, intercourse. That at that level of depth and reflection, I think that's more like medicine work, and it is at the less, more platonic levels too, or not even less, but at the more platonic levels. But Cameron and I are just coming off of a low, and we're climbing back up, and this cycle of lower and higher and lower and higher, when I pull back, it looks like a pretty consistent line of growth going up and getting better and better and better together.
Yeah.
But the more that you zoom in on it, the more I see that, wow, there was a big dip right there, that when you pull back across, we've been together 16 years, it's been overall great.
Right.
But there was times where it was like, wow, that was 6 months of shitty.
Right.
And boy, I didn't think we were going to make it.
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, there are times where there are less pressure, but I don't spend nearly the amount of time sharing my life and responsibilities and do or dies with any of my bros.
Yeah.
Everything is based on comfort and, a basic sense of do I want to or not?
Yeah.
And so I think that the deeper the level of interdependence, the deeper the chance that there's going to be something around, how are you, can I trust your performance today?
Yeah.
Can I trust you're going to show up for me? Can I trust you're going to be there on time, because the last 3 times you were late?
Yeah.
So I find that this kind of glaring cheat code showed up in my awareness, and I'm hoping that it wasn't just a blip. And Cameron and I spoke about this the other day, which is my general experience of personal and relational growth is a 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
So it's 2 steps forward, fall back, 2 steps forward, fall back, 2 steps forward, fall back. But over time, again, if you pull back from the line, we are better today than we've ever been. Yeah. And that's because growth is, a pattern of integrating new patterns.
Yeah.
And what seems to happen is, Cameron and I will have a clearing conversation. We'll talk about letting go of these expectations, or this should have or shouldn't, or the resentments of what you didn't, and set a new bar. Hey, I see that bar. I'm going to reach for it. That is maybe acknowledged, maybe not. And maybe it's reached for 5 days in a row. Maybe it's reached for a month in a row.
Yeah. But
then inevitably there's a dip where I don't reach for the bar. I speak for myself. I don't reach for the bar, and that's where it's noticed.
Yeah.
And it's, hey, what are you doing there? I thought we talked about this. I thought that this was clear, that we weren't going to be doing this anymore. And I'm like, did you see the last X times that this was not the case, that you did not have to think about it, and you didn't stroke me at all?
Yeah.
And I'm a simple fucking Neanderthal with a shaver. Like, I am so simple. Just stroke me a little bit, physically, metaphysically, theoretically, intellectually. Give me a little bone when you see me going in the direction. And I believe, I don't know that this to be true, but I believe that you will Pavlovian my ass to where you want me to be.
Yeah.
Versus not it becoming the new normal, this new thing that has actually takes me a thought to not pee on the seat cover every time.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
Yeah.
But it's just fucking right there for me just to pee on the seat cover, but I gotta lift it up. That multiplied across life until it isn't.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a big part of why bros love feels unconditional, because I don't put many conditions upon you.
Yeah.
If you going to work on time meant me eating, I'd be checking up on when you're getting up.
Right.
So I think the degree to which my expectations around basic needs are connected to the person is the degree to which I care about whether or not you're doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. That is a beautiful point of showing the difference between and why we feel more ease in these platonic relationships versus the romantic ones. But I wanted, there was this thing that stuck out to me as you were sharing, and I want to dive into it a little bit. You were talking about the desire for, and this is very common in men, it literally, like universal for all men, is we want to have that stroking of, for the times when we are on an upswing and we are, in our power,
doing it right,
doing it right,
yeah.
And not just shining the mirror when we're not. And that you're saying that if there is that present, that there won't be a downswing, or maybe not as big of a downswing. Can you speak more on that, like from a personal perspective, and also just like a broad, what do you think is there? Do you think that is what we should expect from our women? Because women expect a lot from us. Do we need to start expecting that, or do we need to self-source? Because this is something I'm personally very curious about, and I'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think that there's been a revival of education in the sexes, that men follow by example. They're the legacy that was before them. And so the way that we have treated women as a general group, men treating women, has been atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last, since the women's liberation movement really started to come forward, there has been a re-education of women and what expectations are, what there should be, what is a healthy expectation in relationship. And so there's a lot more talk about this than with men. We're more learning at this point, not because it's just starting. This moment together with you and I is an example. Men's groups around the world are an example of what has been lost when we let go of having councils that supported us in understanding, having rites of passage, having age-related rites of passage that says, this is what a man looks like. We don't even have Leave It to Beaver anymore. We don't have these shows that were norms, even though Leave It to Beaver, a lot of folks would say there was fucking misogynistic, crazy shit going on there that doesn't make sense. But if you kind of, if I look at the mentors that I've had, love my father, love my stepfather, love the examples that I've had, no one sat me down and said, son, this is how you treat a woman. Yeah. This is how you care for someone. This is how you parent. Yeah. All of this has been kind of stumbling forward. And in particular with men and the culture around not being taught how to ask for help or ask questions without it feeling like you're showing weakness, and that weakness might be exploited. Yeah. This underdeveloped masculine care for each other is really, I think, just starting to come up. And so for women, they're not being trained on how to train a man. Yeah. And really, we're very trainable. We're much more like dogs, and they're much more like cats. And so,
do you think, sorry to cut you off, do you think it's the feminine's role, and there's no right or wrong answer, I'm just, do you think it's their role to train us?
I think partly, I think it's the culture's role. I think that it's a village role. Yeah. And that, in an ideal world, would you have schools for men and women on how to be in relationship? Fuck yeah. Yeah. And it would that alone absolutely change the trajectory of our species? Fuck yeah, it would. Yeah. Absolutely, no question. And so, for me, that is, it's everybody's job. I love there was a school, I taught English as a second language for a while when I graduated college, and the school was called Harrington. It was I was like, that is a great fucking name. And I was like, that's my last name, showing my license to everybody. Anyway, that's a side note. And one of their rules was every adult is the lead at the school. And so it was stated in such a way that anywhere you are in the school, if you're a student, you are any adult can check you.
Mm.
And here are the rules.
Yes.
Here are the rules. These are the rules that they can check you on. You are to respect every single one of these adults.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And since I'm becoming a parent, I have adopted, and I ask forgiveness versus permission to be the parent in the room. When there are kids that are acting stupid or in ways that I feel like we don't want to see that pattern continue,
Yeah.
putting themselves or others at risk mentally or physically, I check them.
Yeah.
My kid or not kid. And I will have a conversation with any adult about that at any time.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's just an overall sense of missing solidarity and
Yes.
cohesion.
Yes.
And there's so many people in the country that you and I come from that don't want to identify as Americans. I am the opposite.
Totally.
Choose me. I'm the American. Look at me. For all the ways I fall down, all the ways that I have grown up with this skin, with this body, with this height, look at me as the example. I'm the one trying to become better.
Yeah.
Yes. And ironically enough, I moved away.
Well, sometimes you have to move away.
Yeah.
In order to
kind of see clearly
and do what's best for you. But I want to dive into this overarching theme of what you were talking about. And to me, it was this, like, in the school, there was this, like, radical accountability.
Sure.
And it feels like that's what you're kind of trying to bring into the world. And it feels like that's what's missing.
Yeah.
Because as you said that, you know, like, oh, you're correcting other children's behavior. There was a little, two things happened. There was a little trigger in me. Like, if you did that to my kids, I would be like, don't, da da da. But then also, I felt like, yes, we need more of that, because this is like this communal, there's so much there that people are afraid to do the right thing now.
Yeah.
Like, people are straight up, because like we're afraid of like being ourselves and like speaking our truth, and we feel so disconnected from the community. Like, even you doing that, I'd be like, to my kids, I'd be like, whoa. But if it was a right thing, I would be like, thank you, but it would still be something that I really would have to work through.
Yep.
And it would make me think like, oh, where am I not? But I really feel like it's needed, you know, especially with people who are really like grounded in their truth, you know, and not coming from a place of like, you're just triggered. And so you're just, but if you're like holding that elder father pillar, you know, I think this is like really, really needed in our community.
Yeah.
So thank you for, you know, really shining a light on that. And I think that, you know, for me personally, I need to do that more and accept that more in others. And yeah.
Well, I think something that you're speaking to is that we don't have a lot of models of healthy conflict.
Yes.
And so men are not taught to set boundaries without violence being the way of enforcing it.
Yes.
And so we generally get big, get quiet, or run away.
Yes.
And those are the strategies that have been modeled.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for example, if I'm checking somebody else's child, I look at the parent, put my hand on my heart, and then say, hey, cut it out, or whatever I say, because these are signs that say, I'm going to fertilize this soil, I'm going to shock the system, and I'm here for it if you need to work through this.
Honestly, I'm feeling like there's a part of me that when you did that, that's like triggered, and also I'm just like, this is the masculine's role.
Yeah.
Like, this is the masculine's role, you know, and I feel like so many people would be triggered by it, but it's so needed.
And it's so rare that they're triggered.
That.
It's so rare that the trigger is allowed to even come out.
Yes.
Because generally it's in a public space.
Yes.
And so it's obvious to everyone around that this is off the chain.
Yeah.
And something needs to be done.
Yeah.
And often it's a younger person parenting.
Yeah.
Who also didn't have examples.
Right.
And that's why getting their eyes, hand on the heart, and then taking action is saying, I'm connecting with you. This is about you. And now I'm going to enforce a norm.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't like every time we go to dinner.
Totally.
And it's not the table over there.
Right.
It's like if you're interrupting and affecting our space in a way that culturally doesn't make sense. Now, when we first moved down here, our kids were 1 and 3, and we would go to La Luna, and there was a much smaller tribe of locals who were here all the time. And in particular, in rainy season, we would go there, and sometimes we would have breakfast, and then we would have lunch, and then we would have dinner, and we would not leave our table. And different groups of folks would come in and out and in and out.
Amazing.
And there would be a tribe of kids running down to the beach and back up and through the kitchen, and not the kitchen, but the dining area, indoor dining area, and stuff like that. And everyone, there was a triggering of some tourists that occurred. That's like, this norm breaking is not okay. That we, at that stage of an age, felt like this is good. This is shock therapy and so forth. And now you go to La Luna and it's packed, and you don't see tribes of kids going around. You just have one kid who's just kind of losing his shit and screaming, and then running away and screaming, and the dad and I'm like, where did that shift? How did it shift? And there was the culture 10 years ago here was more culture, your culture, whatever you want to do. Yeah. I'm here because there are no rules. But I notice as more people come together and density starts to increase, there is a need for more norms. Norms actually keep a dense amount of people from harming one another. And where there was much more space between people and between tables, there's probably twice as many tables at La Luna right now than there was then. There was room, there was big caverns that they could cruise through, and most people were locals.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that so much of this is the bacteria in the petri dish of humanity are noticing that there's a limited amount of sugar that's being consumed, and there's more and more bacteria in the dish. And that inherently makes me stressful in a way that I couldn't articulate to you. And so when you check my son, who's running around screaming his head off and bothering you because I don't have the bandwidth, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm disconnected, I resent me, and it's coming out as anger at you. I resent the fact that I know I'm not up to par with this little person, and I don't know what to do. I'm on a train that's speeding down the tracks, and it weighs 12,000 tons, and if I try to put my hand up, I will get fucking run over.
So let's take a deep breath in for that. So it's so interesting. We're moving into like parenting and culture and just like touching on the point of, you know, when you first moved here, it was like free and flowing, and the kids were running around, and it was all good. And then more people moved here. Now we're talking about local issues, but I feel like they're worldwide issues too. Now what I felt when you said that was the earlier people that were coming here were more wild and free and something like that. And then maybe it wasn't just that more people came here, it was that the more that Nosara got built up, the easier it was for people that were less wild and that were bringing more of that American culture and energy here.
North American.
North American, Canada or whatever. And European, that culture here. like there's right now it's so easy to move here. Everyone speaks English. There's so many amenities. Like it's basically, I mean, it's wild. It's wild for sure, but it's so much easier than it was 10 years ago. I mean, and so it's easier for people to come and bring that culture here. Is that what you feel like is happening? Is that it's not necessarily like more people and more just density and you need to control it because of that? But do you think there's also an aspect of that it's becoming more westernized and more rigid? What do you feel?
I mean, yes and yes. The ideal situation for man, as I understand it, is groups of like 150 or less. And that comes from a long built into the machinery of this hardware that says that our minds can, the upper limits of how many faces and names and stories we can hold to care enough to support them in surviving.
Yes.
And so when I come from a place like Denver that's millions of people to a place like Nosara that had, you know, I don't know what the population was in rainy season, call it 1,200, something like that. That is such a shock. And then you all these succession of filters that make it so that then the people that we would normally see going to certain restaurants as a certain group of people, you know, you get in that groove of going to a certain place. Mm-hmm. And so you would see a certain number of people, and then you'd start to get affinity, and then you'd see them at the market. And we used to go to the market because that was where you got fresh food. Now there's lots of options for that. And so I think that the comforting of a place is its, I was going to say downfall. Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like that. Like the comforting of man through dominating his environment. We look at the gains, but we rarely, I think, address the losses. And this place, which I love, honestly, I could go to so many other beach towns anywhere in the world and have a very similar experience. And that's still hard to say, but you can, but you can feel it. Like, for example, the highway getting paved means that a lot more types of vehicles can come that don't have you bobbleheading down the road, which is just really uncomfortable to somebody who's older. So older tourists can now access this place, which is great. And more money, but it also means that it has to be more comfortable. And more comfort generally means less nature, more rules, and so
comfort in some ways.
It's
discomfort in others.
So I think the American standard being applied and colonizing literally is it's replacing one type of connection which is really germane to the species with nature and with the feeling of tribe, the feeling of being a part of something. I mean, I remember early on having car trouble and every single car stopping. You okay? Costa Rican, Nicaraguan, North American, European. It was like one, then the next, then the next, then the next. I see people pulled over and I just see cars going by. I just go by. I'm busy.
Well, first I just want to, this is why I love recording outside, because there was a snake that just went right behind you by 5 feet.
Wow.
I don't see many snakes here, but that was, definitely it. Oh, and look at this.
How big a snake?
It was like 4 foot long.
Wow.
Yeah, it was legit.
Sizable.
Yes,
Holy
and it was
shit.
Moving fast.
Which way did it go?
Behind you. It's gone.
Oh, it went. No, I know. I'm not worried about it. I'm just to see if we could see it again.
No, it's gone.
Amazing.
But touching on your point, is that we're getting joined by a lovely bluebird who wants to be recorded in the podcast as well. I'm pretty sure the mic is picking that up. But just touching on that point is that I think that's still there. You know, because like we had car trouble. a few months ago, and my wife literally had like 10 people that did that. They pulled over. Thank you. They pulled over. They stopped. They asked if we needed help. They called the bomberos. Bomberos is like the local fire department, if you don't know. And we felt that still. So I still feel like that's generally a part of this culture.
Yeah, no doubt, absolutely, and it for sure still happens. I think that even the situation of trying to compare then to now, coming back to the original conversation of how do we engender loving, connected relationships that are less about performance. I think that the base culture and the stories that we grow up with, the games that we play, that teach men and women how to be in life. And so in most of the games that we play, there are winners and losers. And if you look at our educational systems in the United States, the big universities are machines for producing athletes.
Yeah.
And that's where the endowments come from, and that's where the money comes from. And in so many ways, you and I are from a culture that really preaches competition.
Yeah.
And when you come out here to a place that doesn't have a standing military, do they have a national defensiveness?
Yeah.
Right? We have a huge national defensiveness.
Yeah.
Right? We need to defend the United States. Anybody talking shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, where does that come from? Well, it comes from the culture that is the military, to the games that we play, to I can't win if you win.
Right. Yes.
And when you're living much closer to survival, like so many less westernized countries are, you know that someday my family may not be able to eat.
Yeah.
And so if that family can't eat, you better be sure I'm going to give them some food.
Yeah.
Because it comes around. The cycle of this that we feel in relationship is the same cycle that is within families, within neighborhoods, within cities, within states, within countries. So I think that the stories that I've detoxed from my culture were surprising. It was surprising how many undercover, subversive to the way that I want to live now in my life, stories that I was given, that I was programmed with, dare say, without really choosing them.
Yes.
And my life has really been a part of kind of picking apart stories from other cultures, stories from other religions, stories from other traditions, that I'm like, wow, when the rules are spoken like that, I'm a full yes. But when you tell me I'm going to hell if I masturbate, how can that be? Why would something that feels that good to me be condemning me for eternity?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. An all-knowing God would know the innocence and how good it feels of me.
Yeah.
And that's a man trying to control my behavior.
Yeah.
So when I start to tease apart the cultural myths, I start to see that collectively the interchanging of stories and cultures together, in the same way that you and I are medicine for each other. Yeah. My wife is my medicine. I am her medicine. And sometimes it's a bitter medicine.
Yes.
But when our cultures are coming together, and the conflict and the resolution and the overall homogenization that's happening through Western ideology is hopefully the medicine that will heal these parts of our cultural stories that are no longer necessary to be the motivators.
Yeah. Yes. Let's take a deep breath in. Now I want to shift a little bit.
Amazing.
And see, I'm telling you, this is why we record outside. There's just beautiful birds if you can't see them, just flying all around us, talking to us. Now I want to talk about you as a father. Like I want to squeeze this in. And you have two beautiful daughters, and what do you feel is your role, like you, Patrick Harrington, to these girls?
Teach and set and enforce healthy boundaries.
Boom. Amazing. Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple.
And exemplify.
Exemplify what?
Healthy boundaries.
Healthy boundaries.
Probably the most important thing would be how I live be in alignment with the type of man that one day they might, or personality that they might be attracted to, and build a life with.
Yeah.
To be a safe, boundaried, loving, irreverent, at times, funny servant of, the family.
Yeah. Beautiful. And do you feel like you hold this?
More now than ever. Like, I was addicted to cannabis for most of my adult life. And I am now, I don't know, something like a year off of cannabis.
Woo!
And that's been a gigantic positive shift.
Yeah.
And so I think that for 12 and 9 years, they had a pretty inconsistent, emotional, bordering volatile, loving, supportive dad. And now they have a 10x more consistent, reliable, predictable, caring, loving dad.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think that's another big piece of the fatherhood and parenthood picture, is that no one teaches us what's the difference between going from boy to warrior, from warrior to partner, from partner to father, from father to elder or leader, then leader to elder. And these transitions, there's so much available for us in those moments to be like, hey, you're thinking about having a child. You think that means that everything's going to be the way it is now, and then you're going to have this little thing. And if you do it that way, it will be much harder.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is like surrendering to the initiation of these different stages of life.
Yeah, dying a good death.
Yes.
And stepping up.
Yes.
Like it's a rising.
Yes.
Right? There's a the inspiration and the depth of feeling. It's like when you're a boy, everything is out here. You're running around, you're tasting, that girl, that experience, that thing, whatever it is, more and more and more. And then you find one that captivates, and you're like, oh, it actually exists right here. Okay, this is fascinating. A woman or a relationship. It happens right here, or a job. It's all right here. And then all of a sudden you're moving into this realm of creating another, if you're on this path of having a child. And I think that we don't really have the tutelage to share that. You're all, for men especially, moving our focuses from extrinsic to intrinsic motivators is a deepening of the satisfaction that we get to feel. Most men's pursuits are a lot like jerking off to an orgasm. Meaning it's like a build of tension and a release into pleasure. And we want to do that with the stock market. We want to do that with the fucking crypto. We want to do that with car racing. We want to do that with everything, with relationships. And as long as we're a culture that doesn't teach the transition to the depth of possibility that can, in a much slower practices, that are so the pleasure being so much broader, being so much more whole, more grounded,
integrated,
more satisfying, more consistent, more communal. All of these things are these slowing down and rising up of a presence inside of us. And so that's a big cultural miss from the West. That it'll be curious to see if humanity survives it. It really will.
Yes. I feel like in some, there's two splits happening right now. There is this external, like more money, more cars, more women, more external. And I also feel like there's also this awakening of what you're speaking of is like everything is slowing down. One woman, not focusing on external, validation points. And I think we can kind of choose which reality we want to go to. But what I'm hearing you say about is like this, when we're rising into our, rising into each stage of our manhood, it's really about being more present, slowing down, and being more with ourselves than seeking something outside of us. Is that accurate?
I mean, I really think about, I grew up playing basketball and have really am experiencing the pain of a body that just threw himself at the game. Arrived, smoke a joint, run on the court, no setup, no lifting at the gym, playing 5, 6, 7 days a week for 3 hours at a time, just pounding. And there'd be there'd be guys my age, 50, 52, out there, and I would watch them being efficient, picking their spots, winning. And I'd be like, that's so interesting, as I was just hurtling and throwing myself into it. And I think that there's some part of me, as in reflection, just talking to you now, that I'm an interesting question for me to ask is, where am I kind of playing life like I played basketball in my 20s? And there are places where I can still see that there are shadows, there are flavors of that still happening.
For sure.
And where can I be more and more like the older guys on the court that are picking their spots? And I think that comes from a presence, that comes from a discipline, that comes from a less is more mentality. And I don't know. I mean, I think the times of more and more is more, when I look back at them, I just want to say that I think the quality of my life changed so drastically when we had a child. And that all of the pursuits, not all of them, but many of the pursuits that I thought were so important that I could only do by myself or childless, have kind of a grayish tint. Like they're not as, it's like, who cares? That we partied hard in Vegas for 3 days.
Right.
There's no lasting reason to have done that. And when I think of the it's actually more pleasure, more benefits in the limiting of myself, a la semen retention, a la, no porn, a la no cannabis, like that. No more benders. Don't fucking have a bender. You feel like shit, and the ramifications are you have 2 or 3 days where you're at 20%. And that costs you.
Oh.
Yeah.
For me, it was like a week of 5%. That's why it was really easy for me to, I mean, it wasn't super easy, but it was,
You're talking about substance use?
Yeah. It was, but Okay, so back to what I'm hearing you say is like as we rise and we get into these, more mature years, and some of us start this at 23, some of us started at 50. We're all on kind of these different journeys, but what I'm hearing you say, and I resonate with it deeply, is like it's like, taking things away is kind of part of self-mastery. It's not about doing more, but more about doing less. Like in my personal journey, I found so much benefit in doing away with substances, doing away with porn, doing away with ejaculating most of the time, doing away with social media, doing away with certain kinds of foods, and like this like cleansing, this presence. What it really allows us to do is just be in each moment, because each of the things that I mentioned, they take us out of the moment. Substances, porn, all these things that I mentioned.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm really feeling the like essence of what you're saying. It's really about just like, the more that we can be with ourselves in each moment, the more that we mature and grow.
Yes, and I think without a bigger purpose, without a reason to do it, I think it's very difficult. And I think that's part of the loss.
Children for you
Yes.
was like the reason.
Yeah, the kid
Yeah.
was the reason. I mean, woman was the first.
Yeah, totally.
My career as a teacher and business person went parabolic in comparison to where it was previously.
Mm-hmm.
More monk-like in the previous, and then she was just like, I want more.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I get to provide that. I get to do my best.
Yeah.
And then kids. And I think that today what we have is a crisis of meaning. And that when things come too easy, when there isn't the challenge, when there isn't something to overcome, I think there's a real atrophy of the spirit. And I that's why this iteration of our species, I think, is really has maybe the biggest challenge that we've got with all the comfort that is coming our way.
Yes.
And it's like the idea of getting rid of work through AI or something like that, I feel like is a race to the bottom. It's so I just know that for me, having something that I wanted more than comfort was what allowed me to start to pull back on the things that were my numbing agents.
Yeah.
Wanting to have the type of sexual experience with my wife that only comes through not masturbating.
Yeah.
Is putting off pleasure today to experience something deeper and greater tomorrow. Yeah. And unless I had a wife, I would have no reason to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think single men today, you see the statistics. It's like there's so much content that you can use to get off with.
Yeah.
That you don't ever reach the point in a relationship with somebody where you say, if I don't work this out with her, I won't have orgasms. Right. You can say, if I don't work this out with her, I'll just go on Pornhub.
Yeah.
And it's not as good, but in some ways it's better.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to put up with all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so, fuck it. Peace. I'm out. Yeah. Left swipe or whatever they do.
Yeah, yeah. It's a right swipe.
Right. God.
I know. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's left right. So I want to wrap it up a little bit. One last thing. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about, like, for me, what's really present is you've got this retreat coming up. I know that you do a lot of personal coaching and mentoring, so I definitely want to highlight that. But you've got this retreat coming up, this men's retreat, the Resiliency Project. And this is something I'm like really, I come to your men's circles, I find a lot of value in it. And I haven't been to a Resiliency Project retreat, but I've been to, 50 probably 70 of your men's circles. So I know there's a lot of value there. Can you give us like an insight into like what happens at these men's retreats, and what type of work do you do, and what does it mean to you? You know, really just give us like, tell
thank
us
you
about that.
So men's work in general to me is if you imagine a mountain that has a circular trail on it, and we start walking up the trail, and we walk up that by ourselves, right? As we stumble forward and look around, and we kind of seek Sherpas and mentors and maps, and then maybe we join a men's circle, and now all of a sudden we're not walking on the path alone, and we have someone who says, "Oh, I've been on this part of the path. Let me tell you about my part of the path, which is up there." And we start to share this path to the top of the mountain. You see it up there, whatever that is for you. The Resiliency Project men's retreat it's as if somebody gives you a ride up to the top in a helicopter. And then we're like, okay, this is what it looks like by the end of this, to feel in communion and to feel safe with men. To whether you like, that guy annoys the shit out of me, but I know if I need something and I reach out, he's there for me.
Yeah.
It means it gets past this preferential way that we have been in relationship with men, and we put ourselves into conditions where there is a greater threat than your preferences being met. And so, you know, for example, in the morning, we go out and we swim past the break together as a group. And you can imagine in a group of 7 to 15 men, there's a great varied degree of comfort, experience, ability to swim, who have even been in the ocean. And so we have guys on longboards that are there as support. We have buoys. And you watch sometimes the strongest on land fighter, masculine business success crumple into a very scared person who needs the support of other men in ways that they never could have predicted. And so when we get to actually put ourselves in vulnerable positions and we don't actually know what's coming, right? The agenda is not yours to know until the day.
Right.
And so you're just kind of responding with a group of brothers. It changes you fundamentally. And you all of a sudden start to see other men as people that you just haven't gone through hell with yet. And this isn't hell.
Yeah.
This is really chosen, beautiful, tough, wonderful, challenging situations with other people that have invested in this same way.
Yeah.
So it's like a boot camp. And then what I see is that we see the top of the mountain, and then we talk about having this type of support and feeling when you go back to the trail in your own life. And we support you then, so you're not walking that trail by yourself. And it's friendships for life. It's support in most ways that, unless you've been in the military or some kind of fraternal organization where there was a rite of passage, you just don't know what it's like to go through challenge that where one of you could die.
Yeah.
And you don't, because there's safety in place and so forth. But
And so, first of all, beautiful. And so would you say, like, beyond the support that you guys provide after the retreat and all this, do you feel like they then are able to go and experience like deeper levels of connection and brotherhood in their own community, like bringing the medicine that you kind of help them tap into at this retreat? Do you feel like they're able to, like, is that part of?
Yeah, I mean, what we find is that plant medicine and MDMA is a part of one of the days. So we have intense bonding and physically challenging, mental opportunities that lead up to a day where we look behind the veil with medicines that are built for you to safely do that in a container with facilitators that are ridiculously tenured in this area. of support, trauma support. And so you come back fundamentally different.
Yeah.
And your relationship to your trigger zone, which is the area that you live in, meaning we are co-created by the life that we have around us, and you are different. And so the degree to which each man is himself when he goes back is the degree to which whether or not he'll be successful. So we have across the board men who have returned mostly to the patterns that they were in before they joined the retreat, and fall off of the daily or weekly support that's there. And we have men whose lives look nothing like what they did and who they were before, whether that was a reinvention of a current relationship, a divorce, leaving a job, starting a business, or just a layer of peace and comfort within themselves that they'd never experienced before. We have men that have started men's groups that are now leading in their lives. So the challenge is that whoever you are.
Yeah.
And you have the chance to reinvent and to clear the attic of some of your baggage and be more free.
That sounds so beautiful. And such a real, I love your very real and authentic, like not everybody's gonna, some people will go back and some people will change their lives. And it's really like, it's just an opportunity.
Yes.
You're providing an opportunity for men to transform. And so tell us, there's one coming up, Resiliency Project Retreat. When is it? Where is it? How can people sign up?
Thank you. It's May 24th to the 31st. So it's really coming up in the next 4 weeks, something like that. Okay. And
is there another one planned for later in the year, just in case?
We generally do May and November.
May and November.
Yep. Okay. And resiliencyproject.me, because it is you are your own resiliency project. And you can go on the website. There's videos of us with our shirts off. And just a lot of good information, a lot of context for how you might think about masculine relationships and stuff like that. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I was just making sure the dog wasn't eating my microphone case. So I want to close it off by hearing what is your prayer for the masculine in this world?
That my prayer for the masculine is that that we really allow ourselves to live in such a way that we die a good death, and that we use the North Star of, should we have the honor and awareness at the time of our passing to be present with this ego part of ourselves, with this personality, this constructed version of ourselves, that the higher spirit that we've gotten in connection with over our lives gets to be the partner to that ego and crossing over. Because I wish to be present with myself as I'm leaving this experience, this three-dimensional experience. And so I try to remember as much as possible that my choices today will support me in dying a death without regret.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I'm so honored to have spoken to you, and I feel I'm more connected to you, and that's really like my goal of this podcast, is just having real conversations and getting to know people that I want to get to know more, and to sharing that medicine with the world as well. If you'd like to dive in deeper with me personally, you can visit initiatedman.com. And that is today's episode. Thank you, my brother.
Oh, buddy. Oh, yeah, you come. Oh, love you.
Love you too.
Thanks, T+.
We're out.
Hey, that's a wrap. And Pumpkin was here.